Hello friends, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to Aligned Plans. I'm so glad that you are here. So today, as the title can tell, I'm going to be going through some of the most common mistakes that I used to make when sort of setting up my planning system. And so I thought that I would share like kind of what I learned along the way and where it was always kind of steering me all along. I'm going to be sharing with you 6 different mistakes that most of us actually does make. Some of it I still kind of struggle with, and hopefully in hopes that it will actually help you out, perhaps to save you some money, or perhaps to just bring you more clarity of how to use these beautiful tools in the most intentional way. And of course, if you are brand new and this is the first time that we're meeting, hello, my name is Meshi, and I am the voice and the person behind Aligned Plans. And my hope is with this channel is for us to get together to chat about planning, but also to really bring clarity and figure out how we can use these planning tools in the most intentional way possible. So let's get right into this. Oh, and of course, if you haven't yet already, please subscribe to the channel. You know the drill. All right, so the first thing that I wanted to talk to you about is actually decor, which is a really common mistake for like most of us. And I'm not going to be pulling in this guy. I'm not going to be pulling in the minimalist planner because this was sort of like the end result of going through all of these mistakes. But basically having this idea that, you know, if I would see someone's spread or if I would see like an inspiration page of an actual decor page, that I needed to have all of the items for me to not only recreate the spread, but for me to like fully benefit. So like this idea that I always need more decor or what I have is like somehow not good enough. And then essentially you end up with stacks and stacks and stacks of different decor. And I'm trying to grab a few, but you guys get the picture. When you just have so much like different decor stickers, Happy Planner stickers are definitely one of those where you have so much, but like most of it is not functional to the way that you're actually planning. I remember when I actually made the decision to switch from Happy Planner into the minimalist planner that I have now. And it's like, I just had so much supplies because it was always making me so happy. And at the time it made a lot of sense for me, but I've come to learn like more is not necessarily more. Okay, number 2. Number 2 is function. And I mean, honestly, function, I wanted to show you my old example. So this is an Erin Condren planner, which I used to think that this was like the all in all and end all. And I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I brought some of my older planners here to show you as an example. And of course, what happens, I go down memory lane. I used to think that this was like everything. So because I thought that this was everything and I had all of this stuff that would kind of go along with it, I thought that this was the most functional planner for me. And I mean, honestly, right now I'm looking at this spread and I cringe so hard because it's like, it's so fun to set this up, but it's also like, oh good God, what were you thinking, girl? I mean, like I have a hard time, like this gives me, like now looking at this gives me so much anxiety because it's just so much going on everywhere. I don't find it inspiring. I find it really overwhelming. This is another one where I would do like a lot of writing into each, like, oh yeah, morning meditation. Really? Are you, like with this chaos going on, are you actually going to meditate? I'm just saying. And spread after spread, like here tons of writing, but even here I was more concerned with the writing rather than the function that this was supposed to kind of serve. So like this idea that I'm using this planner in a most inappropriate way, inappropriate for me. So it's not to say that how you guys are using it is wrong, but what I am saying is that I want you to compare this, and I kind of want to leave it here so you can see it in comparison. I want you to compare that to like today's spread. And this will bring it into so much perspective. Look how much decor I have, barely anything, but yet it looks clean. I can see what's going on. It's very minimalist. And because it's minimalist, it keeps everything like boom, on point. Like you have a section for your to-do list, you have a section for your schedule. Thank you for coming out. Like that's really all you need. So I used to think that no, but I needed an outlet for decor, and I needed to keep everything fun and hand lettering and all of that. And I mean, like, spread after spread, and like the whole, like, different colored markers, they were so fun. I have to say, I had so much fun with this. I mean, I had so much fun here, but at the same time, it was also terrible for my mental health, because it was just, it's not so much that it wasn't me. This is a version of me, but this is a version of me that was really craving this entire spread to be highly functional, and I was not using it appropriately. Another example that I wanted to show you is actually back in, like, now we're going way back. So this is my bullet journal before I ever went into my Erin Condren. I would bullet journal, and same thing. And I would even make notes like, oh, this spread is so great. And I'm looking at it like, good God, like, what were you thinking? You know, it's just like, I would either use it like as a notebook, or I would just not use it appropriately the way that it was really intended. And you might be looking at it like, no, but it's working great. And just not having clarity around how I really wanted to use my spreads, and expecting that it should be a lot more functional, but then I was more caught up with the decor or the color of the pen than I was with the actual function of the planner. So that was definitely a mistake. Let's move on to number 3. Number 3 was I needed to plan like everyone else. And these two planners, and actually even, I brought this one too, because for a little while, after I had this bigger planner, I think that this was called Life Planner, I actually went into these little dailies and like in their folio system, and this was actually really functional and great. But even here, I semi-cringe. Like, I'm looking at this, and it's not that I cringe like it's a bad thing, but like, look how thick the markers are. Like, I was craving so much functionality instead of the decor. And because I was constantly trying to match, like, this is both an example of using this inappropriately because I wanted to like use the decor that I had, as well as using it functionally, but then I didn't know how to make it minimalist functional. You know what I mean? Like, this would be a really nice planner to use something small and subtle like this. And it's like, I was not getting the memo. Hang on, let me adjust the lighting to make sure that you guys can actually see. Here we go. So the daily planner started to work a little bit better, but it wasn't, because then for a while I wouldn't use it. So that's another example of not using it appropriately. And planning like everyone else, that was definitely the Erin Condren planner, 100%. Like, I would look at, oh my gosh, what is her name? Coffee Monsters. I don't know. I know most of you guys follow her. And it's like, we would be looking at all of this, and it just kind of like, she would kind of have like those spreads where she would set everything up. Like, it was sort of like this little storytelling. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, like, that looks so great with like the little icons and the little, you know, like the little characters. And I would want that. And I would kind of look for stickers that would kind of match that, not realizing that it's like, oh, you don't need these little things. Just like, get rid of it. And you can add the decor later, but that's not really the point. Okay, let's move on to, I wanted to kind of expand just a moment on tip number 3, or mistake number 3. Mistake number 3 with need to plan like everyone else. And the reason why I wanted to bring this planner up more specifically is because here's a perfect example of something that looks somewhat functional, right? Like, when you look at it, like, you can kind of read what it is. However, I was literally matching someone else's planning style and using a ton of decor, not really realizing that I actually needed an outlet for art, like an artistic outlet where I can go crazy with the colors, I can use the washi tapes, I can have fun with it, and it's lots of fun. But that can be done in a really structured way. That can be done, it doesn't necessarily have to be combined with something that my mind and my heart and mainly my mental health really needed to be functional. So that's kind of what I mean by using it in the wrong way, or using it in a way that like I needed to kind of match someone else's planning style, but someone else's planning style was not matching what my mental health needed. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay, let's move on to let's move on to mistake number 4. Mistake number 4 actually goes back to this minimalist planner that I have, the A5 planner, where I would, basically it has to do with decor again, but like I would go through these phases where I would feel like I can't use any decor in my minimalist planner. So what do I mean by that? So like this would be a really good example where I would literally just use it more like, here, just a bunch of writing. Thank you. I don't even want to add anything. Or I would mix the colors, but it kind of looks weird because you have like green here, blue here, 2 different types of pens. So I'm just like, what are you doing? Or again, here I would just go through like a full daily spread where I don't use anything because I felt like it's like you're complicating it. You know what I mean? So it took me a little bit to arrive to approximately where we are today, where if I'm using one pen, I'm only using one pen for that entire spread, and I'm keeping the color fairly consistent. Let me get you guys zoomed in so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Very minimal as far as decor is concerned. And then here, you just kind of write down what it is that you need, and then you move on with life. Same thing with like here. Like I'm kind of keeping the decor. I kind of go in after the fact, and I'm keeping it fairly minimal. Same thing, same pen for the whole day. Keep it minimal. And like this weekly layout or this weekly overview is another perfect example of I don't have to like go crazy with the writing, and I don't have to go crazy with any of the stickers. I can keep it fairly simple and then kind of call it a day. So now it's just I'm starting to really look at all of the accessories that I have and really appreciate it. And if I want to add like a little pizzazz, little fun, then I can add a little bit of washi, but I'm not like scared off by it, and I'm not fearful to use it. Same thing with here. It's like a really black and white spread with like a little bit of gray, and then I just kind of added this little element because it looks cool. You know what I mean? So like it's sort of just like giving myself the freedom to just allow the color scheme to kind of speak for itself without really overcomplicating it, but keeping it very functional. Moving on to the next mistake that I made. And this actually has to do with what I used to write in my to-do list. And I will show you like now I'm starting to like really space out my to-do list as much as possible. Here's what I used to do. And I can't remember, I would like to find like a really good example. See, like this would be like a really good example. Outline Facebook Live, get ready for fall, what you may be feeling, what coming up for fall. So it's sort of like I would jam pack my to-do list with so much. Goals would be like 1, 2, 3, 4, like five different things plus like 4 videos a week. Like what were you thinking? And it's not to say that it's not doable, but I'm just sort of looking at it like, good Lord, like what are you thinking? Like why are you making it so busy? You know, here, look, I used to have 1, 2, like 3 or 4 different videos going on, you know. I wanted to like journal, add a gratitude list. Like it was just, to me right now, I'm looking at that as like a hot mess. Here, now we got a little bit more functional within the Erin Condren, and same thing, like I would keep it so busy, you know. And it's first of all, keep your planners, guys. Look back a few years ago and it will blow your mind of just what you used to think was so important. And then, you know, like I would have like days when I'm not writing anything, which was quite interesting. But I would just keep my to-dos, like I would have writing, like, you know, with like, what was my checklist, and like just my to-do list was like insane. I remember like I would keep my to-do list so fierce and like very tight knit, like you would think that, you know, like I'm running like an army. I'm looking at my to-do list now, and even if I'm looking here, it doesn't even matter what I'm pulling up. Then word of the year, simplicity. Yes, it is. Oh my gosh, and was I ever striving for that? And then I would add like these crazy, oh my gosh. Anyway, I digress. But my point is that like I couldn't for the life of me keep it simple. I would keep like my to-do list so condensed with so many like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different like categories. To me, that's not simple. To me, that's really congested. Although I have to say, like, I'm looking at these stickers and I'm like, where are these stickers? You know what I mean? Anyways, blast from the past, it's okay. Eventually I stopped using it. By February 2021, I switched. I think this was probably like the last spread that I've done. Even here, January 2021, I'm just like, you can tell I'm done. Like after all of this, I'm like, your girl is finished. And then here, to-do list wise, I'm keeping it fairly simple. What can I do? What am I actually delegating? What am I going to be migrating to another day? And I can actually use the proper icons for it, and it's good. And anything that is beyond this little space, I'm using a sticky note for it. Like anything like, oh, I found like sounds for reels, then I kind of write it out here and I can just add it in. That's the beauty of a sticky note, keeping it simpler. And I wish I would have known that, because I kind of felt like, I don't know if you guys feel this way, but when I'm looking at like an empty, like I'm looking at this and I'm like, oh, I have to fill all of this up. Like there's some sort of like this internal voice that's screaming at me that says, oh, you better keep it busy. You better add all of the things that you need to do. I don't know why. And meanwhile, it's just like, no, silly, like we're giving you this much space so you can space it out and see exactly what it is. And you can highlight the areas that you actually wanted to focus on. I wish somebody would have told me that, because my crazy mind wants to fill every single one of these lines up, but every single dot meant a different task. Anyway, I digress. We learn, right? We learn. Next up, and my final mistake is, oh gosh, this was sad. I used to think that I needed to have a separate planner for a separate function. So let me explain. So something that I can just add into this planner, I think that was one of the things that actually sold me on a minimalist planner, is actually, it wasn't the minimalism, although like that was a really, really huge selling point. It was actually this, it was the finance bundle. It was this stupid thing. You guys, this, I used to actually run a whole separate freaking planner. Like I used to run a whole separate monthly layouts only, and a bunch of like just empty pages, like empty note pages. And I would write out each of my, I would legitimately write out each of my projects and what's going on with our finances, and like lay them all out, when really I could have just done this. Like here, just write it all here. It's right here. We'll add like a little like monthly calendar, so you can kind of like, here's your January calendar, and then you just like you just write in what's going on with your bills. Keep it simple. Honestly, stop overwhelming yourself and trying to follow what other people are doing. Especially like, all it would take is for me to like watch, like look how simple that is. You enter it, good, we're on to February budget. I don't know why February is still in here, whatever, but because like this is how I would actually plan. And we talked about the separate little, I would actually have like these little budget booklets from Erin Condren that used to help, but then eventually I'm like, no, this is not enough. I needed to get like a monthly layout, not realizing that, oh my gosh, like you could just have an insert that already includes a monthly layout, write in all the bills, and then go and do your planning. So that was actually one of the biggest selling features in the A5 planner for me, that allowed me to really make that jump, where I didn't have to have like a finance one, then I needed to have one for goals, then I needed to have one for gratitude, or for mental health, or for journaling. It's all that meant is literally just, hey, just add the journaling insert here and you're good. And you don't need to have like a whole separate planner just for that one function. Like, it's silly. So these were some of the things that I actually really love about this planner right here. And anything extra, like anything that I add, like with the Hobo Weeks or with the A6, I bought the A6 completely for the fun that I used to have with Erin Condren. So what this used to give me, these like super fun spreads, with like the crazy stickers and then the whatever, like what this used to give me, I can now have it here in a much more condensed micro way, where it's just like, just need a few little stickers. Or if you wanted to use a washi tape and you don't want to use a washi tape in your main planner, here, have fun. Like, this is small, it's kind of condensed, it's have fun. And sometimes like that's what you need a planner for, is so that if you need an artistic outlet, please just get like a tiny little planner. You'll have so much fun with it, rather than having like this big bulky thing. And first of all, like, I've seen girls, and I mean, if you have an Erin Condren planner, like, no offense to you, like, I love you, because this, I mean, you can tell when they would have like collab covers, that would be me buying it, and I would try to decide like, ooh, do I want to buy like, you know, the colorful one or the muted color one? That would be me. So I mean, I so feel you, and I was a huge Erin Condren fan. I mean, I'm still like contemplating, like, should I just remove this and add it into my planner? But I won't. I love this the way that it is, because it served the function to teach me what works for me and what really doesn't work for me. And I think that with each planner that you go through, it absolutely is a teaching tool for you to really learn and understand how your mind functions and what actually brings you that inner mental peace where you're being functional, but then you're also being really creative, because it's a little bit of both, but it's finding your personal style and your voice, and all of that is such a big piece of it. So I regret absolutely nothing, but I wanted to really highlight sort of like a blast from the past of what I used to have and what I used to purchase and what I used to invest in, and then what I don't do anymore because it doesn't serve the purpose, you know? So I always kind of bring it back to intentionality, which if you watch this channel, you know that a really big piece of it was I didn't want to create a channel where we're talking about consumerism, but we're really being intentional about what we're buying and why is that filling up a purpose, you know? So even with sub boxes, it's like I'm putting them through the ringer, because if it's not functional for me and it's not serving a purpose, I don't want it in my life. It's just taking up energetic space. This is all I wanted to share with you. I hope that you guys have found it useful and helpful. Here's your question of the day. Let me know in the comments below, what is the #1 mistake that you have made in the past when it comes to setting up your planners? I feel like, I didn't realize that this is gonna be such a big deal, but let me know in the comments if you feel confident to let me know, and if you feel comfortable sharing, because I feel like what I perceive as a mistake, some of you, like that thing that I perceive as a mistake, it totally works for you. So I think that it's interesting to get an insight into what works for each of us and why. So share in the comments, but also I think that it kind of helps each other out of how we can kind of learn and grow from each other. So let's start the conversation in the comment section. Okay, I hope that you guys found this helpful and useful. If you did, you already know how to support the channel. You can give me a thumbs up, you can subscribe and hit notification, so that way you get notified every single time that I release a new video. And in the meanwhile, keep planning, you guys. Keep loving on your beautiful planners, because they really do make a big difference. And keep shining your light. And I will see you again in my next video. Bye.